and welcome to Prep Eve, where we revolutionize how you prepare for IELTS. Since you guys requested match the heading questions once again, I'm here with another set of questions, this time from Cambridge Book 14, Test 1. And before I take you to the PDF file, let's quickly understand the step-by-step approach to solve this question. So first and foremost, just like in case of any other question, and I just don't get tired of saying this over and over again if you've been following the playlist for the guided reading practice series, that instructions are very important. So you have to read the instructions carefully in all questions. Then you have to read the title of the passage so you get the context, you get an idea of what the passage will talk about. Then you have to go through the list of headings. This is very important. A lot of beginners do not know this. What they do is they straight away start reading the paragraphs without going through the headings, which is absolute blunder, because if you do that, you will not know the context. Again, how will you match something with the paragraph without reading the headings? So go through the headings, underline the keywords in the list of headings. Here the list refers to the list of headings, and predict the content of that paragraph. I'll tell you how this is done, step 4, very clearly in today's session. So we'll be reading the headings and then we'll be predicting. Predicting basically means you are thinking of the content that you can find in the passage. Okay, this does not necessarily have to be true, but this gives you an idea what you can expect in the passage or the paragraph. Then you have to quickly go through one paragraph at a time. So there could be 7 paragraphs, there could be 5 paragraphs. In today's reading passage, there are 5 paragraphs from A till E. So there are 5 paragraphs and you have to go through one at a time. You don't have to go through all 5 of them. That again makes no sense. Majorly focusing on the first few and last few sentences of the paragraph. This rule has to be ideally applied when you are short of time. If you have enough time, then you do not have to read the first few and last few. Then you can read the middle part also. But when I say read, it does not mean that you have to read each and every word. You can skim certain sentences if you get the idea of what the paragraph is saying, because ultimately in match the heading type of questions, you have to understand the gist. What is this paragraph telling me? ये paragraph मुझसे कहना क्या चाहता है? So that is what we are looking for. So after reading each and every paragraph, you have to ask yourself, कहना क्या चाहता है ये? What is this paragraph conveying? What is this paragraph telling me? So do not get fixated on one word or sentence that you're unable to understand, or do not feel that okay, this one word is written or this one sentence is written, so the answer will be based on that only. Because here match the headings basically wants to assess, or the examiner is trying to assess the candidates or your ability to understand the main idea or the gist of the paragraph using this type of questions. So keep that thing in mind. And I usually give this example of news headlines. So when there are news headlines, or when you open the newspaper and there's a headline, when you read that headline, you get at least 80% idea of what you can expect in the article. Okay, so if it is if that headline just specifies one part of the article, then obviously it's not a headline, then it's a subheading. But a heading is something, or a headline is something that is going to cover the major chunk of the paragraph or the passage, or in case of newspapers, the article. So keep that thing in your mind. Go back to the list of headings and start eliminating. This is highly important. We are going to focus on eliminating the wrong headings or the ones that do not fit that particular paragraph, instead of looking for the right ones. What do I mean when I say this? I mean that instead of looking for the right answer, you go through all the list of headings. Let's say there are 10 list of headings or 8 list of headings. You go through each one of them and you start eliminating them if they do not make sense with respect to the paragraph that you read. Now, eliminating or putting a cross basically means that you're 100% sure that this heading or this title is not making any sense, or is not the heading of that particular paragraph. So keep that thing in mind and start eliminating the options that are not suitable, along with shortlisting the probable ones. So you might be confused between 2 or 3 options, so just write those down separately on the sheet of paper or in your head. Just make a note of it, and as you keep moving from A to E, from the first paragraph to the last paragraph, you will keep getting more clarity whether that's the answer or not. Then you have to repeat step 5, 6 and 7 for each and every paragraph. So read the paragraph, understand what it is trying to tell you, what is the gist, and once you do that, you have to go back to the list of headings and start reading all the list of headings. Simultaneously, you have to eliminate the options that, or the headings, I would say, eliminate the headings that are not making sense. There will always be more headings than there are paragraphs or sections, so some headings will not be used. So the question that we will be doing today, it has, I guess, 5 paragraphs and some 8 headings. So let's have a look at it, and the ones who want to revise this, you can pause the video here, quickly go through all of these 8 points, and then we'll move on to the PDF file. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is book 14, and we'll be covering reading test 1 section 3, and we'll be focusing on match the headings or list of heading questions. Okay, so first of all, what you have to do is you have to read the instructions. So choose the correct heading for each section from the list of headings below. There are 8 headings, as I mentioned. So you see here, these are 8 headings. However, you have lesser number of paragraphs. You just have 5 paragraphs. So there are 3 extra headings that will go unused or that are unnecessary here. So you have to keep that thing in mind. Some of them will not make any sense at all. Then we have to go to the title. We have to read the title, and also the subheading, or basically the explanation of the title. You have to go through that to understand what you can expect in the paragraph. This is your step 2. So papyrus, used by the ancient Egyptians to make paper. So obviously I haven't heard of this word before. I don't know what it means, but the next line tells you that it was something, probably a material used by the ancient Egyptians to make paper, the papyrus plant. So now it's very clear. So do not freak out if you come across a new word. If you go on reading, if you read the subsequent sentences, there would be some or the other explanation about it. So the papyrus plant has helped to shape the world we live in. So it's a plant. Now that's clear. So it's a plant that was used by ancient Egyptians to make paper. Now moving on to step 3, which is to go through all the list of headings and simultaneously predict what could be the content of each and every heading, so that we are alert when we read the passages and go through them, so that we can match. So first and foremost, it says solving the puzzle of a papyrus document. Some puzzle which is to be solved. So there's some problem, or there's some puzzle related to a document. The importance of written records and different ways of recording them. So in this paragraph, we can predict that they would be talking about how important written records are. Like you have to write and document everything, and also there is some mention of different ways of recording them. So we can record on, let's say, laptop, we can record on palm leaves, we can record on paper, we can record on cave walls if we go to the ancient time. And why am I talking about ancient time? Because there's some mention of ancient Egyptians. So stones, people also used to write on stones and stuff like that. So there's some mention of all of these things that I can predict. So right now I'm predicting. This does not mean that what I'm predicting is going to be right. Prediction is different from accuracy. I'm not sure, but this is what I can gauge after reading the list of headings. The use of papyrus for a range of purposes. So use of this plant for a range of purposes. So use is mentioned, which means that they list some uses for different purposes. Range is important. So there will be a list of different purposes for which this plant is used. One purpose we know is to make paper. It might have some medicinal values. It might also be used for making some paints or some clothing. We don't know. I have no idea. This is the first time I'm actually getting to know about this plant. I had no idea about its existence. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to predict. And this entire activity has to be done in 1 or 2 minutes in your head. It's just that right now I'm trying to explain everything and I'm doing it verbally and not in my mind. So it seems like it's going to be time consuming. But trust me, it's not. Suggestions for future possibilities. Suggestions for future possibilities for papyrus. So what are the future possibilities, which basically means the future of this plant, how it can be used, whether it's going to be beneficial in the future or not. Things like that would be mentioned here. How this plant was cultivated and different manufacturing methods. So in this particular paragraph, I can expect they'll tell us about the process of cultivating it or growing it, which means the temperature, the soil, how much water is to be poured, or how the seed has to be planted and stuff like that. So that thing, how it is cultivated, how it was cultivated, and different manufacturing methods, different ways in which it was produced. So anything related to production would be the fifth one. The decline of its use. So there's a decline in its use. So in any paragraph that we are going to read now, if you see some decline, or the usage has decreased, or it is not as popular as before, then the answer would be sixth. The preservation and destruction of papyrus documents. So preservation and destruction of the document. So how it was preserved and how it was destroyed. Both the things. So how it was protected and how it was destroyed or removed or eradicated, whatever. So both are important. If the paragraph is only talking about one, then this is not the answer. Both should be mentioned in the paragraph. The process of papyrus production. So they're talking about the production of this particular plant, the process, how it is cultivated, okay, how it is produced. So we have fair enough idea now. Let's start reading. Now in this particular passage, each paragraph if I talk about A, it has two paragraphs. B has one, C has two paragraphs again, and D has one, E has two. So it's kind of lengthy. So what I'll tell you is, for the first paragraph, you read the entire thing. For A, you read more or less the entire thing to get an idea, and don't get fixated on one sentence or one word. However, then you can move on to the alphabets that just have one paragraph, like solve B first, then you can move to D, and then you could solve C and E, because then what happens is the list of headings also reduce, because you've already assigned the list of headings to the other paragraph, so it becomes easier for you, and you don't necessarily have to go through the entire two paragraphs under C and E. I hope it's clear what I'm trying to say. So let's get started. Libraries and archives are cultural crossroads. So I'll keep underlining whatever I would naturally underline if I was taking the test, right? So I'll do that. Of knowledge exchange, where the past transmits information to present and where the present has the opportunity to inform the future. Bureaucracies have become the backbone of civilizations as governments try to keep a track of population, business transactions, and taxes. At a personal level, our lives are governed by the documents we possess, We are certified on paper, literally from birth to death, and written documentation. So, written documentation should ring a bell. It was mentioned in one of the list of headings too. Carries enormous cultural importance. Consider the consequences of signing the foundation document of the UN or the Convention of Biological Diversity. So, after reading each paragraph, you have to ask yourself, what is this paragraph telling me? What is this paragraph trying to convey? ये paragraph मुझसे कहना क्या चाहता है? This is what you have to do, and then you have to come up with one sentence summary. Okay, summarize the paragraph in one sentence. So here they're talking about how important documenting records are. So in this paragraph, they're emphasizing on how important it is to document in a written manner. Okay, so both at personal and professional levels, or the level of the bureaucracies, as well as the personal level. So everything from our birth to death, which basically means birth certificates to the death certificate, everything is on paper and everything is being documented. So that is something you need to keep in mind. Documentation requires a writing tool and a surface upon which to record information permanently. About 5,000 years ago, blah 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 started to use this and this. So sometimes I do not read all of the words till the time I feel it is necessary. So you don't have to read everything. Sumerians is obviously a category of people. They're of a nationality. So you don't have to go through each and every word. Reeds and sticks, again, you don't have to go through them. Just understand what is the context. To make marks on mud blocks, which were then baked, and but despite being fireproof, these were difficult to store. Other cultures used flexible, yes, permanent surfaces, including animal scales, wood strips. In Western culture, papyrus was of great impact. Sheets of this not only provide an invaluable record of people's lives. Okay, so they're talking about different techniques here. So they're talking about how you can record the information on food strips, animal skins, and reeds and sticks, papyrus. And then here they're talking about importance. So I guess this is one of the easiest paragraphs to spot for the list of headings, but we'll process it in the same manner as we discussed during the instructions. So you have to go through all the list of headings and start eliminating the ones that you think do not fit the paragraph. Okay, so read each and every one of them and start eliminating. So what you have to do is you have to read the heading and ask yourself, is this what the paragraph is talking about? Solving the puzzle. Is this paragraph talking about any puzzle or any confusion? No. Is this talking about the importance of written records and different ways of recording them? Yes, I guess 101%. The first part of A is talking about this, and second part of A is talking about different ways. But still, we'll go through the rest of them just in case we find a more appropriate heading. The use, is any use of use for the range of purposes mentioned? No use is mentioned. Future, no mention of future possibilities. How papyrus was cultivated, no mention of how it was cultivated or manufacturing methods. Decline, definitely not. And also decline would usually be one of the last paragraphs. How it is that in the first paragraph for any passage, they'll whatever topic it is, they'll talk about the introduction of that thing, how it was grown, and some background. In the second one, they'll probably give you the advantages or the usage. Then the third one, they'll give you the disadvantages. Then in the fourth or the fifth paragraph, they'll tell you about the decline or the problems associated with it, something like that. So in no case, I mean, it would be a very rare case scenario wherein the very first paragraph is talking about the decline of any topic. Decline comes much later. First, they'll be discussing about how it originated, the beginning, and stuff like that. Okay, so this is not the answer. Preservation and destruction of the documents, no. The process of, again, there's no mention of the production process. So pretty much 2 is the answer for me. So I'll write this now, but I would definitely cross check it towards the end once I've completed all of these paragraphs. So then I move to B quickly, and now I would skim and scan. So first paragraph, or the first two paragraphs in this particular case, because both of them fall under A, the reason why I read these two is to get a context. Now I know what I can expect in this in this passage, so a fair enough idea. Now I will not be reading each and every line if I don't have the time, but if I have the time I would quickly skim through it, right? But first few lines and last few lines are important to get the idea of what this paragraph is saying, and then I'll ask myself, ये paragraph मुझसे कहना क्या चाहता है, what is this paragraph trying to convey to me, and then I'll go back to the list of headings and start eliminating. It is strongly associated with the Egyptian culture, although all the ancient civilizations around this used it. Said, okay, it is a plant. It's explaining it was harvested from shallow water. This near River Nile. Manufacturing sheets of this was complex process. So they're talking about some process here. These were then covered with second layer of strips which were laid at right angles, then soaked in this. So they're talking about the process. So if you notice, I'm not memorizing anything, I'm not trying to remember anything, I'm just going through what they're talking about, right? Then polished to produce high quality writing surface. Okay, that's it. Barely took me, I guess, 1 or 2 minutes, not more than that. And also I did not read everything. I was just understanding that they're talking about some process. Ye hota hai, fir ye hota hai, fir ye hota hai. So they're telling you about different steps. So we go back. There's no mention of solving anything, no mention of return records or anything of that sort, no mention of use, no mention of future suggestions, how it is cultivated and different manufacturing methods. Is this the answer? The decline of this, no, there's no mention of decline. In fact, they're talking about how it is produced, and it is just talking about this process, right? Okay, and preservation and destruction of the documents. It's not talking about the plant, but the documents, no. The process of papyrus production. Which one do you think is the answer? The fifth one or the eighth one? So here you have to be mindful, they're not talking about different manufacturing methods. The method is just one. So here it says is a tall glass, okay, whatever, manufacturing sheets were complex and it was made in this manner. So it is just one process here. So they're talking about the production process, production of this particular thing, and not the cultivation of the plant. It's not how the plant is cultivated. In this case I told you how the seed is sown and how it is, you know, nurtured and all of that. That's not mentioned, so that's not the answer. The answer would be 8 in this case. Yeah, so they're talking about the process of its production and not about the different manufacturing methods. So the answer becomes 8th for this one. I hope it's clear to everyone. I won't be reading C right now. We'll straight away move to D because it's a smaller paragraph, and then we'll go to either E or C. Besides that use in record keeping, the stems were used. So I guess it's pretty clear this entire paragraph would be about the different usage of this particular plant. So one of the things they've mentioned is record keeping, and the other things are boat construction, ropes, sails, baskets, and then, you know, mariners used it in ancient times. Bundles of stems modeled craft as a marshland plant. It stabilizes soil, reduces erosion, while some investigation shows it helps in water purification as well. So they're talking about different uses, and we can straight away go to the heading that was talking about usage, which is the third one, use of papyrus for a range of purposes. And what are the different range of purposes? These are the different range of purposes that you can read properly if you want to, but it kind of conveys. So which was the heading? It was the third one. So that's how quickly you can come to the answer, come to the conclusion. Moving on, true paper was probably invented in China. Like this, it was constructed from plant fibers, but Chinese used fibers from white mulberry tree. So they did not use from papyrus but from this tree, which yielded a tough flexible material flooded with folded, stretched and compressed. The adoption of this paper by Western culture soon rendered obsolete. Now here, if you don't know the meaning of this word, you might get stuck, but that's why this paragraph is also important. So obsolete basically means is redundant, is useless now. Why? Because papyrus was replaced by white mulberry tree by the Chinese. So, despite dreams of paper free societies, Western culture still use enormous quantities of paper, often in ways that it is inconceivable to use papyrus for. Okay, as a paper substitute, the role of this is a little more than the niche tourist. What makes this noteworthy for Western society nowadays is its use for surface upon our ancient recorded lives. Okay, so if you understand this entire thing, despite dreams of paper free societies, so there was a dream of paper free societies, but that is not going to happen now because the Western countries are using it. So that is the major chunk of this entire paragraph. So we need to combine these things together and again go through the list of headings. So solving the puzzle of papyrus document, there's no mention of any document here, right? The importance, there's no mention of importance, of use, of future possibilities would mean how it can be used in the future, but that's not the case. And it's not about different manufacturing methods as well, or how it was cultivated. As I mentioned, decline would be towards the end, and this was logical. It is not that I had already attempted this particular passage. This is the first time I'm going through the passage with you guys, and it was just logical to say that decline would come towards the end, importance would be in the beginning, and some introduction or how it originated, and then some advantage and disadvantages in between, something like that. So this is most likely the answer, the sixth one. Preservation and destruction of documents, no, there's no mention. Process has already been taken, so I would go with the sixth one, because now the papyrus plant has been replaced by white mulberry tree, right? And there's no mention of Western cultures or anything in the heading, so we would go with that as the answer. None of the other headings make any sense after you read E. So yeah, that's how you find out the answer to this one. Now we're just left with C. Let's quickly read the first few lines, and if we get something, fine, otherwise we'll have to read the entire thing. In moist climates, okay, sheets of papyrus would readily decay, becoming covered by this holes from attacks of insects. So again, I told you they would talk about negativity also in between, so I'm guessing this is about the disadvantages. um, but in dry, okay, this is now positive, but in dry climates, in moist it is bad, it's negative because it's attacked by insects. But in case of dry climates, like this, it's stable, rot resistance, earlier known as roll of papyrus, called this. Now you don't have to read everything. Okay, Julius Caesar, father-in-law, catastrophic. So some extra information is given. We just have to figure out the gist. What are they exactly conveying? How are the most famous discoveries of papyrus have come from rubbish dumps of ancient Oxynchus. Whatever the pronunciation is, doesn't matter. You can leave out the cities. Just try to understand. Regional administrative capital. Okay, documents, correspondence, particularly. Over time, thick layer of sand covered these dumps and forgotten the documents. Okay, now they're talking about some documents, right? And you've seen in the headings that they've been talking about documents a lot. So there's this first one, solving the puzzle of papyrus document. Then there's another one, the seventh one, which says the preservation and destruction. So maybe these two, one of these two could be the answers. So let's have a look at this again. So documents were protected by sand. So papyrus documents were protected by sand, creating a time capsule that allowed astonishing glimpses into the lives of the inhabitants over 100 of years. So it's talking about the documentation of this particular region. It was the administrative capital. It has tax returns and all of those records which are preserved. Collection of documents that record information and ideas have frequently been reviewed as potentially dangerous for thousands of years. Governments, blah blah blah, uh, resorted to burning libraries and books to get rid of themselves for inconvenient evidence found politically morally unacceptable. One such calamity, the burning of the great library of Alexandria and the papyrus scrolls and book it contained, has been mythologized and has come to the symbol of the global loss of knowledge. So here, if you notice, they're talking about protection in all of these lines and how it helped them in knowing the people who lived in this particular town hundreds of years ago. And then here they're talking about the destruction, how it was destroyed to keep the information safe from potential danger. So again, there are only two headings that are talking about document. Solving the puzzle of papyrus document. There's no mention of some puzzle, at least I didn't see it. You can let me know in the comment section if you see any puzzle related to it. The other one is the preservation and destruction. Now they have to talk about both, and if you notice in C, they're speaking about the preservation, how it was preserved and it helped in understanding the livelihood or the lives of people over 100 years of that over 100 years ago. And then destruction, how it was destroyed and burnt and all of that. Some library was burnt in Alexandria or whatever. So that's how you come to the point. And here again, since I'm doing it for you during the YouTube session, however, since I'm doing it for you for however, I'm recording this for you guys, so I'm not going through all of the headings, but you should be doing it ideally the same manner for all the paragraphs, just like we did for the first 2-3 paragraphs. So you have to go through the first one. No, it's not talking about preservation, destruction. This is also not there. There's no mention of use, nothing about future, nothing about manufacturing methods, nothing about decline, preservation, yes, nothing about this. So this is how you have to solve this particular type of question. And then of course you have to also cross check, and when you cross check, it'll give you much more clarity whether you are on the right track or not. So I hope it's clear to all of you guys. I'll just show you the instructions once again, and I hope now you can see that we have followed all of these. We read the instructions carefully, then we read the title, we also went through all the list of headings, we underlined the keywords in the list and predicted the content quickly. We went through the paragraphs, majorly reading the first few and last few lines. And since I was doing it on my own, I prefer going through the middle part as well, just to quickly skim and scan. I did not remember anything, and I was not paying unnecessary attention on unnecessary words. I was focusing on ये मुझसे कहना क्या चाहता है paragraph, what is this paragraph trying to convey to me. And then ultimately you start eliminating the list of headings for all your paragraphs. You have to do this step, and that's pretty much it. So I hope I could give you clarity. There are a lot more videos in this particular playlist named guided reading practice, so you can go to our YouTube channel and just look for the playlist which says the guided reading practice series, in which I have explained all different types of questions. This is probably the third or the fourth time I'm making a video or recording a video for you guys on this particular type of question. So each time I cover this type of question, a lot of comments come wherein you guys want me to attempt another list of heading questions. So that's what I'm doing. Please leave a review in the comment section if you liked it. If there's something missing, something you disliked, or you want me to incorporate in the following videos, you can let me know. I'm trying my best. And also, reading improves with practice. Strategies play their own role, but if you don't practice, if you don't sit for 60 minutes at your home and dedicatedly assign that time or those 60 minutes for the reading test, nobody can really help you out. So follow the instructions, follow the step by step approach, but also ensure that you are practicing at home. It is not sufficient to watch the videos and score well. So all the very best to you guys. Thank you so much for joining in. And if you're interested in enrolling for our courses, you can call or WhatsApp us on the numbers that have been mentioned in the description box, and also you saw them during the video. So you can go ahead and get in touch with us. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.